Welcome to Chinwag Tuesdays, your passport to a world of language and culture.
Hi everyone, welcome to another episode of Chinwag Tuesdays. I'm Amanda and today's special guest is Andy. He's an Aussie who, like myself, is living in North India. What are the odds? Thank you so much for being here, Andy. Or in Hindi, I should say bahut dhanyavad.
Thanks for having me. I can't wait to have this conversation.
All right, so maybe we can start off by doing a bit of a self-introduction. Where in Australia are you from and why India?
Yeah. So I'm from Melbourne. Been born and raised there. I've lived there for most of my life, 20 plus years. I'm 29 now. And how I first came to India, which was the start of 2019, I was with a large accounting firm. There was an opportunity to come to India and other parts of the world. The problem was for other parts of the world, I had to be CA qualified at the time. And India had a preference, but not a requirement. So I just applied for India. I was a few months off getting my CA, and then I got accepted. And then I ended up coming for 3 months, Jan, Feb, March 2019. Circumstances happened like always happens in India. Things just always happen and unfold. And I ended up staying over a year and stayed up until COVID hit March 2020. And then I actually stayed a few more months because I fell in love with it and tried to last through COVID. And then I realized that wasn't going to happen. So that was my first time in India, that year and a half, starting from 2019. And then I came back for a wedding in November 2023, realized how much I missed it, and decided to quit my job, quit everything, book a one-way flight, get a business visa. And I've landed back in March 2024 to commence my second stint. So that's how I kind of accidentally fell into life in India and fell in love with it.
Yeah. So how did you go back home when you went back to Australia? Was that through one of the emergency flights?
Yeah. It was one of the last government flights back to Australia. So they sort of said at that point, because it was end of May, I tried to, I mean, it'd been 3 months before we kicked off. And they said, if you don't come back now, that's it. Like we've done everything we can. You can come back now or you can survive on your own. So I decided I probably should just get back home.
Yeah,
and then,
true.
so it was one of the last government flights, thank God, which was lucky. Otherwise,
because it was such a shit show after that.
Yeah. In India, or in Australia too, to be honest.
Yeah, fair enough. I was here. I was here all through COVID. So I moved in June 2019. So it's coming up to my 5-year mark. And then I got married in November. And then a few months after we got married, COVID hit. And so I just kind of stayed here. It was so funny because we were supposed to go to Sri Lanka for our honeymoon. And we're like, oh yeah, we'll just delay like 3 months. COVID will be gone in 2 weeks. 3 years later.
Never ended. No, it was insane. Was it difficult for you? Was it challenging in India? Were you scared?
Because
in my mind, I was like, India's the last place. I guess this was the start when no one really knew how bad it was, and I was like, India's probably the last place I want to be. I think I should just go home. So that was my decision. But you stayed.
The first wave wasn't too bad because, I guess there was that unknown. Everyone was scared. No one knew what was going on. But the thing that was hard is because when COVID entered India, it was brought by Italian tourists. So then there was this kind of discrimination against white people.
Right.
So I was discriminated against in my society. I had friends that were discriminated against because we were white and we were like told to go back home and like calling us COVID and all this kind of stuff. So once we got past that, it like wasn't too bad, but the second wave was when it was really bad here. So, people were dying outside hospitals because they couldn't get a hospital bed. And that's when it was really scary because I just finished that first kind of year, the first lockdown. We were like, yep, we can do this. And then the second wave hit and we were like, what the hell?
It was scary. That was scary. But same in Australia as well, I guess, when I went home, it was like no one knew like what was happening, how to respond. So it was a weird couple of years, wasn't it?
It was. And like we had a dog, we just had one at that stage. And we weren't even allowed to go outside to exercise him. Like we couldn't even go outside at all. I got in trouble for like running in my society at 10 o'clock in the morning. No.
Wow.
No. So I was going outside at 10 because there was no one out because it was like summer and you know how hot it is at that time. And I knew that no one would be around. And then I got targeted and said to stay inside. And then that night, all the old people were out doing their nightly exercise and stuff. And so then I complained.
Oh, really?
Because I'm like, no, like you told me I can't even be out at 10.
When no one else is there.
Yeah, right. So yeah, we couldn't exercise. My husband's business is liquor stores. So he sells alcohol, and alcohol was not classed as essential.
Oh,
So liquor stores were closed for like 2, 3 months at the beginning. So neither of us were working. And so it was pretty tough.
that is tough. That's stressful.
Yeah.
How did
Yes.
you first move to India? Was that because of the relationship?
Yeah. Yeah, exactly. So we had met in March 2018. I actually came here for a holiday, and
Oh,
I
no
came to visit a
way.
friend of mine. Yeah. And yeah, we met, and then it was sort of at the end of my trip. So then we kept in contact when I went back to Australia. Then he's like, hey, I want to
Oh,
kind of get to know you more. Do you want to come back? So I applied for leave at work, came back. Um,
wow.
yeah. And then we kind of, I mean, one of us had to make the move, right?
Yeah,
So
yeah, yeah.
visa wise, it was much easier for me to come here. And I just wanted a bit of a change from Australia. I was just kind of done.
Yeah,
Wanted
yeah.
a fresh
I completely
start. So
get
I was like, I'll move.
it. And India, I feel like India, I'm sure you agree after 5 years, India has this energy and this pull about it. I don't know, like
Yeah.
keeps there's like frustrations as well, but then there's something about it that just makes it so hard to leave once you're here. And
Yeah.
especially I feel like it's a really you love it or you hate it place, like really.
Yes.
But
Definitely.
I
Yeah.
don't know, it just has this magic. It just has a grip on me. I don't know if you
Yeah.
feel the
Yeah,
same.
definitely. Yeah, I mean, like there's definitely been times where I'm like, I'm done. I'm done here. I want to go back home. Because it's too hard. Like I've had a few of those moments, but then, you kind of get over it. But
Yeah, and then the next day, just something new, a new challenge to distract
yeah,
you from.
exactly. Yeah. All right. So tell me more about your Aussie Buy business. So that's the
Yes.
name of the business, right? Your community.
Yeah, yeah. The Aussie Buy is the
Okay.
name. So
Yeah.
yeah, I honestly, so it kind of continues on from the first question, actually. When I came in November for a holiday, I was talking to a friend and he said you should come back and there's so many opportunities in India right now. You should seriously think about coming back. Because I was
Yeah.
talking about how much I loved it here and missed it. And that kind of put a seed in my mind. And he also introduced me to the idea of, or just proposed the idea of kind of just the education space in general. And so when I
Hmm.
went back to Australia after that trip, I had the seed planted in my mind around education, helping Indian uni students. I didn't know exactly what I wanted to do, but
Yeah.
that was honestly enough for me to quit everything and come back and then just figure it out when I was here. Like that, I had no real plan. I didn't know that that's what I was
Just
going to
wing
do.
it.
Yeah, pretty much, like semi-direction. I had a bit semi-direction.
Yeah.
And so I kind of came back and I said to myself, I'm going to give myself a few months just to speak to people and try to figure out where there's problems in the
Yeah.
education space. But I wasn't just closed to that. I wasn't married to that idea, but I was going to focus on
Yeah.
that because I had that idea. So I just spoke to families, kids, parents, colleagues, friends of mine, ex-colleagues, and it, there was a lot of issues in the visa space, but then also the
Mm.
post-migration space. Students, once they
Yeah.
move internationally, including to Australia, they really struggle with settling in. It's a completely different culture and everything's just very,
Mm.
very different, which I agree with. It's a very different place. And I was like, these are problems I can actually solve just because, I'm born and raised there, I understand both countries. I've lived in both countries. I've
Yeah.
managed people in both countries. I've hired in both countries. Like I'm quite familiar in both countries now. I was like, maybe I can actually solve some problems in that space. I have like 8 years experience in the corporate space. I started putting together like a PowerPoint presentation for myself to try and work out like the direction
Love
of the
it.
business, like, and fleshing that out. Each day I was like tweaking it a little bit as I got a bit more
Yeah.
clarity on what I wanted to do. And then eventually I landed on just that helping students or wanting to put together a bit of a community to help students once they
Hmm.
land in Australia. How can they
Yeah.
adapt and how can they find work and accommodation and any
Hmm.
any problem essentially that they face once they land. And the magic thing about
Yeah.
it was actually I was facing a lot of those problems at that time when I landed back in March because I wasn't in an employment visa, so I wasn't taken care of. I didn't have accommodation and drivers and all those sorts of things. I was really alone. And so as I was kind of writing down all the problems I was seeing for the students that moved to Australia, I realized 80% of them, 70 to 80% were problems I was facing in the moment. And I actually got really
Yeah.
emotional when I realized that and connected the dots, and it made the whole thing a
Yeah.
much more inspirational kind of purpose. And that's kind
Yeah.
of how I got into it. And then I just, started a social media page and started talking to people and trying to help people as much as I can. And that's kind of it,
Hmm.
trying to build a bit of community now to help
Yeah.
each other and communicate and solve some of those problems that the students are facing.
Yeah, definitely. And I think when you have that kind of firsthand experience, it makes what you're doing so much more meaningful. I kind of have
100%.
the same thoughts and feelings about teaching, because I'm learning a new language. I'm living in a different country, trying to assimilate into the culture. And that's what most of my students are doing. And I feel like that makes me a much more patient and understanding teacher, because I know those struggles. Whereas if I was just someone living in Australia teaching English, I might not understand the struggles that people go through because I haven't lived them.
Absolutely. I think that's critical to being able to like empathize and then be inspired by the journey. Me, right, like I'm so inspired about what I'm doing right now. I feel like I could do it every day. Like I'm not even making money right now from it, but I'm still inspired because I just feel like I'm solving my own problems for other people. And for me, that's a really inspiring feeling. It's it's quite a deep
I love that.
Probably for the first time in my life, I'm actually doing that, which is nice.
Yeah, that's really sweet. I think it's really great when you kind of find your purpose. You find you're doing something meaningful and you find your purpose. I remember when I was planning to move here. Yeah. I couldn't work for the first 2 years because I was on a tourist visa, and then I converted that to like a partner visa, and there was a work restriction on both of those. And I remember one of my friends, a colleague as well, saying to me, "What are you going to do for 2 years?" I was like, "Oh, I don't know. I'm just going to chill out. It's going to be great. I'm going to relax." And then after a year, I was like, "I'm done. This is too hard." It was also during COVID as well. But anyway, I kind of stuck it out. And then I started dabbling in a bit of like teaching online, but not focusing on Aussie English. And then eventually, like I got into Australian English because people were booking me just because I'm Australian. And that's when I realized there's this gap. And I was like, wow, okay. So there's not really a lot of people doing one-on-one classes in Aussie English. You know, you can do downloadable courses, like online courses, group classes, things like that. So that's when I was like, there's a need for this. And then, then eventually I was like, you know what, I actually really love this. And I really enjoy it. And I feel like I found my purpose, because my friend had said to me, like, don't you want to do something meaningful? And that comment has always stuck in my mind this whole time. And when I went back home last time, I caught up with her and I was like, Carmen, I'm doing something meaningful.
What were you doing before? What kind of work in Australia?
Oh, I did a lot of different things. So I did my higher education in hospitality management. So I got my advanced diploma in hospitality through TAFE. Then I worked in hotels. That's why I was living at Ayers Rock, Darwin. I moved to Brisbane. I was in the hospitality industry. Then I wanted to get out of the hospitality hours and schedule. So then I got a job in a call center working for a vitamin company, you know, Ethical Nutrients, Inner Health Plus. Have you heard of Inner Health Plus today?
Bro, take me back home. Those ads.
So I was working for them in their call center, their inbound call center. Then I got approached by WorkCover, workers' compensation. So I got a job in their call center, and then I moved into their claims department. So I was working in claims insurance before I moved to India. And I really enjoyed it. I really loved my job. And I was even going to study further in that was going to be covered by work. And then I moved here.
Wow, interesting. So you had a crazy like path before, like really a lot of different things.
Yeah, English was not something that I even considered at all.
Wow. It's interesting that you're selling something that is just you. Like you're essentially just selling who you are. Yeah. Like that's your kind of business. I'm just Australian. I can teach you how we talk and how we communicate.
Yeah.
It's critical, by the way. Like how you communicate is so important.
Yes, definitely.
Where you're living, you need to be able to communicate.
Exactly. Yeah. And you know, at first I thought like, oh yeah, it's easy enough. I'll just teach people about like the Australian accent and English. But there's definitely a lot more kind of intricacies that are needed to learn, that I had to learn about. Even now I'm, you know, creating my online course, and I'm still doing research for that. Like I found a book written by, I forget her title, but she did a book on Australian English. So I've been reading that, trying to still educate myself further so that I guess I know within myself, and I'm confident in the information I'm sharing in my 100%. Course that it's correct because I've done the research. Yeah,
absolutely. And sometimes that soothes a bit of imposter syndrome as well. Not that you have it, but it's
imposter syndrome. Oh no, I do feel that.
You know, like even me, like I'm not a visa expert or anything like that, and I get questions about that, and so I have to educate myself, even though it's not quite my focus, but it's just trying to ease and soothe that imposter syndrome. Like I am more than qualified for what I'm trying to help with or the problems I'm trying to solve.
Yeah, exactly. So what, I guess, talking about problems that you're trying to solve. So how do you plan to support Indian students? I know you've got your free community. So I guess what kind of things do you do to support them?
Yeah. So right now, and this is something I'm trying to work out. So my journey really started the last 4 weeks. So it's kind of been a bit of a rapid growth. And so initially my plan was just to help as many students as I could in terms of if they reached out to me, which I've had literally over 500 DMs now of people like asking for help.
Oh my God.
Yeah, I know.
That just made my heart like.
I know. I know. It's been absolutely insane. The response has been honestly amazing. And to everybody that's responded, it's me responding and me actually trying to help. So at some stage I won't be like literally able to do that. It's just not a scalable model. But now I'm trying to do that as much as I can and even trying to pinpoint the key problems. For example, one of the biggest ones, the 2 or 3 biggest ones are getting a job or a part-time job while they're studying, finding accommodation, and then kind of that feeling of isolation and loneliness. And so I'm trying to do what I can to at least pick apart little steps there. For example, I built a free CV template and just sent that out to hundreds of people that wanted it and did some free CV reviews. And so I'm trying to pick apart what are the big problems. And at this point in time, how can I just pick a little part of that problem or a problem within the larger problem, like if the CV might be poor, which a lot of them that I've seen are quite poor, and try to provide solutions for those. So I'm trying to find ways to help as many people as I can. And then at some stage, they'll have to find a bit more of a scalable way to help more people. Because right now I'm limited by my own time, which is a bit of a challenge. But that's how I'm trying to help. And then I've also built a website, which has a community where people can put their questions, people can help each other. And, that's just starting, obviously. But I'm posting all my free tools in there, anything that I build, trying to put weekly videos in there as well to try and help out. And so I'm trying to, I guess that's a way for me to scale. But also, I guess my Instagram content and content that I post on social media is trying to actually be really helpful stuff that anybody can watch. And I've got, like I said, so many comments from people saying the videos have been really helpful, whether that's slang, which is in your space, or just how you can get it, fix your CV, how you can get a job, how you can meet people. I try to cover problems that I've written down and try to deliver them in a 30 or 60-second video and try to provide some kind of what you can do to try and fix those problems. So but my journey will definitely evolve over the next couple of months, I guess, as I try to provide more intimate support and try to scale that. But that's something I'm trying to figure out right now and just listen to the demands of the people.
I'm sure like with time you'll be able to figure out like the most kind of common questions, and then that could be kind of the way you think about, all right, well, I'm getting this comment or this like message like 100 times compared to this one that might just be 2 times. So this is obviously the need or the demand.
Absolutely. Yeah, exactly, man. That's what I'm doing right now is actually, and the reason why I'm responding to all the messages is because of what you just said. Right now, I'm just listening. I'm just listening to everybody. That's kind of my job right now. I consider myself like a content creator for now, just trying to put out as much content as I can, and a listener. That's all I'm doing right now. And so for me, that's the best way to be able to help in 3 months or 6 months in a deep way, is just to listen now. And the other best way for me to help is to be in India, which is why I moved to Delhi. And for me to, I guess, integrate myself in the community here and understand how they work and then compare that to how Australia works. For me, those 2 things, listening and then integrating myself in Indian community, helps me the most to be able to actually provide a solution and to help with the problem. So that's kind of how I'm going about it. I'm trying to be patient and just listen and just try to help as much as I can. I know sometimes I'm a slow replier to people, but that's me just trying to be as authentic as I can.
Yeah. And you know what? Like I was kind of the same in my early days, as I was replying as much as possible, and now I just can't. I really can't.
You don't have the time. You physically can't. Like you can't get to everybody. And the thing is, in a meaningful way, I could reply to everyone a shitty little comment, but not in a, like an actual meaningful, helpful way all the time. That's the challenge I'm facing now a little.
Like, if someone asks me, do you do one-on-one classes, then it's easy for me just to like, I have a saved reply for that. I can just do that. But it's just too hard for me to reply back to the hundreds of messages I get just saying hi with nothing else. Like I don't have the capacity to do that.
I'm still doing that. I'm the early days.
I was in the beginning, but it's just very difficult for me to do that now.
I bet 100%. You actually can't, because if you do that, you're taking away from your ability to provide actual support to people. That's the problem.
It
almost becomes selfish replying to everybody in that way. It's like the best way to give back is to actually be careful of your time and try to help in a more scalable way.
Yeah, for sure. And I know that you just said that like by integrating yourself into society here is helping you provide this kind of service to Indians. So I guess how has your own experience now and before living in India influenced your understanding of Indian students in Australia or wanting to move to Australia?
Yeah. You honestly, you couldn't even do it without being here, I don't think. Like the way that the way that at least I am able to empathize and understand their problems is from knowing where they come from in the first place. I feel like if you don't understand where they come from and their experience and how they live and survive, it's just so hard to be able to actually help because you don't quite know what the problem is. But if you've been here and then obviously I've lived in Australia and then you compare, it's like the gap is so wide that it's so obvious why they struggle. And sometimes it's even really small things that they struggle with. And maybe someone that's never been to India or never been overseas, let's say from Australia, would be like, how are you struggling with that? Easy. But then when you're here and then you compare it and things are so different, it's really easy to understand why even some small things can be a big challenge for the students. So for me, it's been critical to, and lucky that I lived here with, a big corporate company before and got to understand the corporate world as well and the working environment. But that also now just kind of doing my own thing and integrating myself into different communities and people and social groups. And for me, that's been really, really valuable to, be able to understand where they come from, empathize, and then fill in the gap between Indian lifestyle and Australian lifestyle. I think it's been absolutely essential for me to properly support.
Yeah.
Do you feel the same? I don't know if you have largely Indian students, that's your focus. Or?
I don't actually know. Most of my students are inside Australia. I've got some Indian students, but they live in Australia. But I guess in those kind of cases, it does help because I do a lot of my main focus is on pronunciation and accent. So for those Indian students, I can say like, look, you're struggling with this sound because it's like this in Hindi or Punjabi or whatever it is. So that is really helpful for that side of things. Like, oh, how do you pronounce this? It's, use this sound, similar in Hindi, that sort of thing. But I don't get to use that too much because I don't have too many Indian students. But I think what you were saying before was really interesting about how the struggles that Indians have or people living here have, unless you've been to India, you don't really understand. I feel that way with my family a little bit. When I have different situations that go on here and I know how ridiculous they sound, but they don't really understand so much because they haven't lived, they've been here. My mum understands it a bit better because she came back a second time after I got married and spent 3 weeks here. And so she saw that kind of thing. So I could explain that. But yeah, it's been a bit hard trying to explain to my family why there's been like some obstacles or barriers or whatever it's regards to, because they haven't lived those experiences.
Definitely. It doesn't make sense unless because I guess Australian and Indian culture is so different. For me, they're the most different out of any country I've been to, I think. I'm pretty sure. They're just so different. And so you almost can't even imagine it, I don't think. My dad's been here 2 weeks total. He came for 2 different trips in 2019 when I was here. So he kind of understands a little bit. But yeah, my mum and my brother haven't been. And so when I speak to them about, similar experience to you, when I speak to them about problems, to be honest, I don't even really speak to them about problems because I know they're not going to quite understand it anyway. If I have a problem, I speak to someone here or even a friend that I used to work with here or things like that. So yeah, it's just so different. That's really hard to understand.
Yeah. I don't know about Delhi, but like here where we are, especially summer, we get the power cuts. Does your power cut out there? Yeah.
It does. But most of the places I'm at, like where I'm staying right now, and then the workspace that I'm in has backup. So usually it's like it's not
they
really
got the generators.
Yeah.
So like we've got the power cuts, and like I know how ridiculous it sounds telling people like, oh, like I've had to cancel a class because the power's gone out, our backup generators run out of battery, and I've got no Wi-Fi.
Yeah.
And like
100%.
I can't actually work. And I know that it sounds so ridiculous, but it's just so normal for me now.
Yeah.
I mean,
so you don't have
that kind of situation doesn't happen too often, but talking about it is normal.
You don't have generators, or just in your home, you don't have generators?
In our society, we don't have a generator yet. So when we moved in, our old society did. But when we moved in here, it was like, it's still being built. Like some apartments are still empty. And like that, it's just like they're completely gutted. They haven't even been built inside, like the one next door to us. So they had told us when we moved in, like eventually there'll be a 24-hour generator. Well, they also said the pool would be finished in 3 months and it's been 3 years. So
eventually was the key word.
yeah. So yeah, we've just got like our small little battery kind of inverter that will operate the fans and the lights and the Wi-Fi, but not the AC and the big electronic and the big appliances and stuff.
Yeah, it's interesting because I'm actually half Lebanese. So my dad is white Australian and my mum's entire family is pure blood Lebanese. And so in Lebanon, I haven't been and I plan to go this year, but I know a lot of my family stories from there that power cuts and those sorts of things are actually really common. So for me, and actually speaking about that, the culture between the Indian culture and Lebanese culture are so similar, it's unbelievable. And so I think that also fits to the question we were just speaking about before of kind of understanding them and the differences and even the differences, core values, you know, like family and tradition and religion, those sorts of things. They're much more of a high priority in Lebanese culture than Australian culture as well. And so for me, I see my own family and then I see Indian families and culture, and there's actually more similarities there, I would say, than Indian and Australian culture. And so for me, that's kind of a way that I connect the dots as well. And that helps me to integrate into Indian society too, is kind of leveraging and leaning on my Lebanese background, which is most of my family that I spend time with in Australia is just all the Lebanese family and that culture. So we spend a lot of time in that sort of Lebanese space. So yeah, a lot of the things, even like power cuts is a common thing in Lebanon. And so for me, when I first came here and heard about it, I was like, oh yeah, like I've heard about it. I know that exists, you know, that sort of thing. Whereas in Australia, it's just like not a thing, completely unheard of.
No, you're on the call, you're on the phone to like whatever energy provider you're with just to see like what's going on.
Yeah, this is completely unacceptable. It's been out for 3 minutes. What are you doing?
Yeah. Or they'll give you like a week's notice and they'll put a pamphlet in your mailbox and say, oh, this date at this time, there won't be power. Here,
it's still a problem.
The power goes, I'll check the app. And then I'm like, oh, the power's out until like, 4 o'clock. Okay, let's see if it comes back.
Yeah, let's see. Exactly. None of the pamphlets in the mail. Absolutely no chance.
No. My mum is Italian. So my dad's Australian. Oh, my mum was born in Australia, but her family immigrated from Italy. And
same with mine.
My mum has sort of noticed some similarities between Italian culture and Indian culture too, about family values, that sort of thing. So I think my mum definitely has a better understanding of life in India based on the experiences she grew up with an Italian family, and then obviously being in India. So she's like a little bit more understandable in some things, but the rest of the family is kind of like, well, I guess that sounds hard, but I don't think they can truly understand how difficult it is.
It's really, I think it's one of those places where unless you've been somewhere very similar, like Nepal or something, you just I think you need to be here to just understand and experience it. And then it's like nothing makes sense, and then that makes sense. You know what I mean? It's like nothing, and then you can make sense of
true.
that.
Yeah, 100%. Oh, that's so funny because it's so true.
I know. I know, it's crazy.
All right. So what has been the most fulfilling part of your Aussie play journey so far?
That's a good question. I think it's going to sound insanely cliche, but I think genuinely being able to help people directly. And the reason why I say that is because, like I said, my background is 8 years in the corporate world. I spent 5 years at a big four accounting firm, and then I spent 3 years in risk management at a top 15 Australian listed company. And so when you're in companies of that size, it's just hard to see that the direct impact you're having on people. And for me, impacting people is a critical thing. And even through my career, it's always been about how can I help the client, or things like that. And so it's always been about people. And for me, when I'm impacting somebody, that's what fills my soul and nurtures me. But then there's still something very different about I help the client with a task or something like that versus I helped a student or somebody who's struggling in their life to try and improve their life and improve their surroundings, And so that's been the most fulfilling part, is being able to have a conversation with somebody and change their mindset or provide a solution or just help them with a problem that's really impacting their life in a negative way, and to try and flip that around. And so for me to see the difference and then receive the messages of thanks, honestly, there's not many greater feelings that I've felt. It's just an amazing thing. So that's what keeps me going. It's nothing like I've worked on or felt before.
Yeah. You and I are very similar in this sense, because I actually have the same answer when people ask me. It's like the ability to help people, but
100%. And you're doing a sort of similar thing. And so I thought that might have been a similar answer to you, because if that's not keeping you going, I mean, that's the whole point of what we're doing, right? Is to just actually try to help people. And it sounds like from your story as well, you kind of fell into it as well. And so when you fall into
Yeah.
something like that, and it just continues to happen and roll, it's because
Yeah.
you're helping people and you're changing people's lives and
Yeah.
people are thanking you for it. And then it just gives you that
Yeah.
the spiritual strength to just keep going, I think.
Definitely. Yeah. And I feel like when you do fall into something like what we're doing, I think we can control the situation for the most part. It's like, whereas, if you have a 9 to 5 job or you work for a company, you don't really get a lot of control over what you're
No.
doing and how you do it. But this way, like, because you've fallen into it, you can kind of nurture that
100%.
from the start and grow it into the way that you want it to be.
Yeah, yeah. And that's actually something I'm adjusting to. And one example of that is the video I made with the C word. And I won't say it here, but it's like, I was like, can I do this? Like, can I say this? And then I was like, I don't have a boss or a company to tell me I can't do it. I guess I could do it. And then it would
Yeah.
actually help people because it's used in Australia, you know? I was like, all right,
Yeah.
maybe I'll do it. And so it's kind of, you can do things your way and help people
Yeah.
your way, be authentic about it. And so,
Yeah.
yeah, it's for me, that's very weird and very new. And even that feeds into, honestly, another fulfilling part that's not so cliche is I feel like I feel fulfilled in my life right now because of that, because of the freedom to do kind of what I want when I
Yeah.
want. I guess
Yeah.
luckily for me, what I want to do is be working on this. So for me, I've been working 6 or 7 days a week every week because I genuinely want to. And
Yeah.
that's just and that fulfills me. But then also I get to wake up now without an alarm. I don't put any alarms on throughout the day at all
Yeah.
anymore. Then I hit the gym every single morning. And then whenever I finish the gym is when I finish the gym, I can enjoy the workout and then I get to work
Yeah.
and I just smash the day. And so for me, I guess what I'm doing now, and to your point, being able to do it on my own terms and do it the way I want to,
Yeah.
that actually allows me to structure my whole life in a way that I want to be
Yeah.
structured. And that is
Yeah.
also very fulfilling on the personal note, very fulfilling.
Yeah, definitely. One question I get all the time is, if I'd ever move back to Australia, and it's really hard for me to answer right now
Oh, that's a
because,
good
like,
one. I want to know the answer.
yeah, I mean, it's so funny because when I was planning to move here, people would say, like,
Mm.
are you going to move back? How long are you moving for? And I'd say, like,
Mm.
oh, at least for the first 5 years, I see myself in India. And now it's coming up to 5 years. And I have like no
Wow.
thoughts about going back at this stage. And I think the cost of living, as you know, has gone up in Australia. Everything's so expensive. You're kind of, I wouldn't say you're stuck in like the kind of corporate world or the work kind of culture, because compared to other countries, the work culture in Australia is quite balanced, but
Yeah.
you don't have the control over your days and your schedule and your time too much. Whereas
Yeah.
here, I've had the opportunity to grow and develop and find new hobbies and figure out exactly what I want to do without the stress of having to pay $600 a week on rent or whatever it is, and
Yeah.
pay like $100 for one person for groceries. And I have that kind of flexibility and freedom to search and to look at what I want to do and what I enjoy. And before I started doing this, I started my YouTube channel, G'day Namaste, which I don't really post on much anymore because I just don't have time. But I started that as a hobby when I wasn't allowed to work. So that was kind of like something that kept me going. And then eventually I started this. And yeah, I just don't think I would have had the same opportunities had I been in Australia at that time.
So interesting you say
So
that because I guess that feeds into what I was saying as well. For me, the point of trying to progress in the corporate career and try to, get wealthy, all these things was essentially to live a life that I wanted, a life on my terms. That was like the end goal. And then
yeah.
kind of coming here has been a bit of a hack because, like I said, I'm not making money right now, so I need to fix that at some stage. But in terms of my lifestyle, I'm kind of living life on my terms. I've kind of hacked my way there, which is a strange thing. And then exactly what you were saying. You get to explore things you want to explore, do things you want to do, explore new hobbies, but your lifestyle, like even small examples. Like I played around with my morning schedule. I played around with breakfast, then gym, then work, or gym, then breakfast, then go to work. And I got to play around with kind of my timings and my schedules, and it's just I got to figure out what works perfectly for me. And so now I kind of I found out what I love to do every day, and that's still a journey and find new hobbies and things like that as well. But yeah,
Very
India gives you that
empowering.
opportunity. It's incredibly empowering, and you realize you're kind of almost at the end goal of the lifestyle design just by moving here, which blew my mind to feel that.
Yeah. So what kind of hobbies have you discovered here so far? I mean, obviously you're going to the gym, and I'm assuming you did that in Australia as well. So
Yes,
what
that's
other
the big
kind of
one.
things have you discovered, or groups that you're kind of getting involved in?
So that's a big one. The gym every day. I try to get there every single morning to start my day. I've been playing tennis on Wednesdays, which is super, super fun after work. So that's been really fun. And then here, which obviously I don't do in Australia, is getting heavily involved in the expat community and just meeting people from all over the world pretty much every weekend. Usually like a Sunday. For some reason, Sunday nights are big. And that infuriates me because I'm a bit rusty on Mondays. But last night was okay.
And Monday's your big day.
Yeah, exactly. But that's been the big one, is kind of, I like to, like I said, I work pretty much every day. And for me, I enjoy that. At least because I'm doing what I really enjoy doing. But then, yeah, outside of that, the big thing is kind of meeting people from all around the world through these expat communities, which is amazing in India. Communities are so tight. And I think because, I mean, in Australia, it's very multicultural. Everywhere you go, everyone's from everywhere, not just pure white people really anywhere. Whereas here, everywhere you go, it's like 99.9% Indian people. And so when you have an expat community, you're quite, there's like a connection there because you are kind of the odd ones out, and so you can kind of assimilate. So that's been really nice, is connecting with those people, and whether that's even just like doing activities together or having chat about business or even just going out for a drink or something like that. That's been amazing. It's been amazing being able to connect with people from around the world. So and that's a good thing about Delhi as well, being a kind of a hub and a big.
They've got a huge expat community there. How do you find them? Is it through Facebook or do you use Internations?
Yeah, Internations I joined because my first 2 weeks I was feeling very lonely. That was actually my biggest struggle. I was feeling very lonely.
Yeah.
Most of my ex-colleagues and friends are not in India anymore, or have moved, or they're married and doing different things. And so for me, I guess I was a bit more lonely than I anticipated the first 1 or 2 weeks, and that was a bit of a challenge. That was a big challenge for me, to be honest with you. And so I knew Internations existed, but I never had them before. I just had groups of friends. So I just reached out and then joined, and then I went to an event and then just welcomed with really open arms. And international people in India are just so open-spirited and open-minded a lot of the time, and so I've just met so many amazing people through that, and the last 3, 4, 5, 6 weeks just meeting people through that, and has been absolutely amazing. So I've been spending a lot of time with people in that community, which has been great.
I joined Internations after a couple of months, but there's no Internations community here in Chandigarh. So that had been a bit of a struggle for me, because I created my own community kind of thing. So really? We try and catch up occasionally. Yeah.
You have a lot of expats in Chandigarh?
Not a huge amount. Like, I think in our little group, there's probably about like 8 of us, 9 of us now. Most of us like married to Indians, so we all have like that other thing in common as well. There's one Indian girl who is married to an Australian guy, and they live here, half Torres Strait, half Aussie. So like we try and catch up regularly, but half of them have kids and half have jobs, and it's really hard trying to all kind of connect. But one of my friends, she actually is she's really heavily involved with Internations in Delhi. She's an American girl.
Oh,
yeah.
Cool.
Yeah, so I interviewed her on what I was doing, like my foreigner feature on my other channel, interviewing other foreigners here in India. And she said to me, like, if you ever want to start an Internations community in Chandigarh, let me know. I can kind of hook you up with the contacts. I was like, oh, dude, I don't have enough time for that. But I feel so like envious, because she's always posting like the fun parties she goes to on the weekends with Internations. I'm like, I wish I was there for that.
They are pretty fun, to be honest. I know it's not going to make you feel better, but they're pretty fun.
Yeah. Well, if you ever see an American called Liz, who's married to an Indian, she's my friend.
I met Liz. I know Liz.
Have you?
I met Liz at a pool party a couple of weeks ago, and her husband.
Oh yeah, she went to the pool party. Yeah, I saw that. Yeah, I interviewed her for my other channel. Yeah, we're pretty good friends now.
She's one the person in the community.
Yeah, she is the one organizing everything. Yeah, so she. Yeah, everyone's like, I'll have to message her after this. Actually, what a small bloody world.
That's what I was saying about the international community. It's so tight knit here. Everyone knows. Yeah. Everyone knows everybody. It's insane.
Yeah.
Which is a beautiful thing.
Yeah. You know what's funny though is like the way I saw one of your reels, like, because obviously I've got like G'day Namaste, which is my life in India. Then I've got Aussie English with Amanda. It wasn't one of your slang reels that came up for me. It was the one of you like trying to speak Hindi about you're an Australian living in India. Of course this happened. And I was like, another Aussie here, please. Like,
this guy?
Had a quick look, and then I saw like Aussie play, and then I was like, oh my god, like look at all these like slang videos and all this kind of stuff, and I was like, I need to find out more. I feel like it's kind of like we're just like doing very similar things.
Yeah. It's nice we're doing similar things, but also very different, I think, which is
Yeah,
nice.
we're not crossing on each other's toes. Yeah. So we can
Yeah.
have that kind of, yeah, working together.
Yeah, exactly, exactly. It's nice. Are you in Delhi often or ever?
Oh, only when I'm flying back to Australia, actually. Yeah, I don't really get to Delhi too much. I don't know. Delhi
Not too
just
far though.
makes me
Like a 4
anxious.
hour.
It's too
Oh,
busy.
really? Yeah, it is. It is. I went to Chandigarh. Chandigarh was actually my first out of Delhi trip in 2019, and it's a
Yeah.
super nice place. I mean, yeah, it's a beautiful. It's much more calm and clean.
Yeah.
Yeah,
Yeah.
yeah.
It's
I love the
definitely more
chaos.
quieter, and that's what I like about it,
Yeah,
actually.
fair
Yeah.
enough. I'm
My
a
husband
chaos guy.
likes Delhi. He goes to
Oh yeah,
Delhi like for work stuff quite often.
yeah,
Not quite often, maybe once every couple of months. But me, I'm only in Delhi for like flying in or out of the airport.
yeah. You
Yeah.
guys should come for a pool party or something though at some
I
stage.
know, I know. I should ask Liz when like the next event is, because like it'll be
Every
really fun to
week,
get away.
honestly. There's something literally. There's events 3 or 4 times a week. It's actually out of hand. You know what I have to do when I'm here, and what I am doing since I landed day one, because I knew what India was like. I was like, if I don't control myself, I'm going to be partying every day, and I'm going to be just, going crazy. So
Yeah,
I pretty much don't drink, and I pretty much don't party. Like maybe once a
yeah.
week maximum. I think I've had 15 drinks or 20 drinks total in 2 months total. So I try to like
That's
limit
nice
myself on all this
self-control.
sorts of things. I have to, I have to. Otherwise, nothing would be getting done at all. India's that place
Yeah,
where there's
true.
just too many events all the time, all the time.
Yeah,
And so
yeah.
it's a landslide. But I'm not careful. I'm sliding down the hill very quickly.
Yeah, yeah. No, yeah, I should make a trip to Delhi. It's just that it's getting
You
too hot
should.
now this time of year. Oh.
It is hot. It is hot. Later in the year when it gets a bit cooler.
Yeah, yeah. Sounds good. Well, actually,
Yeah.
I'm planning on going back to Australia for a quick trip in end of October. I'll be going back.
Nice.
Yeah. Do you have any
Huh?
trips, any plans to go back anytime soon for a
I might
holiday?
have to visa stuff
Oh, yeah,
because
true. Yeah.
I've got a business visa, so I've only got that 6 month period of time. So I need to figure out,
Okay.
yeah, those Indian things
If
where
you
you
can
got to figure
extend
out
it or you can,
how to
yeah.
do things. Yeah, the best way to go
Because
around
everyone
things.
tells
So
you different things at the foreigners
yeah,
office.
yeah, very different things, including things that they shouldn't be telling me. I'm like, let me try to do it properly.
Yeah.
I know.
Oh, that's so
So
funny, actually. Yeah.
I'll figure it out. But
I don't
honestly, I
know
just
about
love
in
it.
Delhi, but oh, sorry. Yeah.
No, no, you're going.
Have you been to the foreigners office in Delhi?
No, I only went to the Indian embassy in Melbourne to try and
Okay.
work things.
Yeah.
Why?
Yes. Oh no, I haven't been to that one, but like when I applied for my like X visa conversion and when I did my OCI application, it went all through Amritsar. So that's like the
Oh,
capital, like the main kind of head office for foreigners
oh,
in Punjab, Chandigarh, and I think
mm,
Jammu Kashmir or something. But they don't really speak English there. So
right. So
it's
it's a
very
challenge.
interesting trying to go to a foreigner's office
Yeah.
when they don't speak English very well. So
What a
luckily, by the
contradiction.
time I was going for my OCI, my Hindi level was at like an kind of level where I could call up and ask, what's going on? Can I book an
Really?
appointment? All this kind of stuff. So
Wow. Have you been learning
yeah,
Hindi like a lot? You've been putting a big focus on that?
not as much as I did before when I wasn't working. So I did like a beginner's course through a language school that's based in Missouri in Uttarakhand
Yeah.
in the mountain area. So I did that for a couple of years, 5 days a week, like Monday to Friday,
Wow.
every day for an hour. And then I finished the course and then I didn't really do anything for a bit because my work started to get busy. But now I do classes like twice a week. So
Yeah.
besides my classes, I don't really do much extra. And I'm a language teacher. I know what I should be doing to improve a language skill.
Yeah. Talking to your husband.
Well, yeah. So his parents don't speak English. So when they come over, I can
Yeah.
speak to them.
Oh,
People
that's
outside I
good.
speak to.
So you're
I've
relatively proficient? Like you can get
I would say
around easily?
pre-intermediate. Like I can kind of share my thoughts and feelings a little bit. I can get
Ah,
around, like if I'm getting a taxi from, I live on the outskirts of Chandigarh. It's like not in the city itself. So if I get a
okay.
cab to go into Chandigarh and the
Yeah.
driver asks, where are you going? I can explain that sort of
Oh,
thing.
wow.
So
That-
yeah,
That's pretty good. I want to get to that point. But then it's just so hard when so many people that I work with speak English and my target audience
that's the
speaks English.
problem.
And so I'm
Yeah,
not forced. I need to be forced.
exactly.
Otherwise, I
Yes,
don't have to
that's
jump.
been my problem is that people assume because I've been here for nearly 5 years, I should be like fluent, but I'm not forced to speak the language. I speak English
That-
with my husband.
Yeah.
Chandigarh city itself, people speak English. I go to Starbucks and people ask me what I want in English.
I know.
And I'm like, I reply back in Hindi because I'm trying to get my experience up. Like,
that's amazing. I want to focus on
but
it more. Actually, that's something I should be doing more.
yeah, I mean, it is really useful. I mean, it's hard in a city like Delhi because, like you said, a lot of people do speak English, but it's really helpful. And I feel like it helps you assimilate on a deeper level in the country because you can kind of speak the language and you can start becoming like more, I don't know, it just feels much more like kind of special to be able to communicate with different people. Like I've been going to my gym here for nearly a year. It's like around the corner. And I think now, like, I talk to like all of the girls that go to the gym and half of them don't speak English, but I can sort of understand enough to kind of, and it makes a nice connection to be able to communicate that way.
100%. Do you find that your students are ever really poor in English? And then do you coach like English at all, or it's more just the Aussie slang side of things as well?
No, I do. I don't really do too much slang, to be honest. Mostly it is English, like Australian English accent. So pronunciation, accent improvement, Australian culture, that sort of thing. So there is a bit of a slang focus, but not too much. But yeah, it's mostly accent pronunciation. Yeah.
Yeah.
But I don't really teach beginners, like pre-intermediate to advanced is sort of my audience. I just don't have experience teaching beginners, and it's not something that I really enjoy.
Yeah. Wow. How did you, I guess, find that specific niche then? Because that's quite an interesting niche.
Accent?
Yeah.
Kind of what we were talking about before. It's just something that people kept coming to me and asking about. They want to improve their accent. They want to learn the Australian accent. They want to understand the Australian accent. I want to improve my pronunciation.
That's through social media?
Most of them was when people would come to me for a trial class. So I'm now working completely independent for myself on my own website. Before that, I was working on like a teaching marketplace. And people would come and like book trials. And then, in that trial, I'd be able to find out exactly what like their problems are or what they want to focus on, what their goals are. Oh, nearly every time I want to improve my pronunciation. I want to understand the Australian accent, or I want to have a more neutral accent. Like they want to lose their kind of native accent or have a more neutral kind of accent. So
wow, that would be challenging. So now I understand a bit more of what you were saying before, the intricacies of it's not that easy just to speak English. Aussie. It's like the details, the intricacies.
So like that's what my course is about, is like there's two parts of it. So the first half is the Australian vowels. So we have very different vowel sounds compared to, say, American English. So the Australian vowel sounds, connected speech. So how we link words together, how we remove sounds or words, things like that. And then how to pronounce different word endings. So asked should be asked, things like that. And then the second half is like Australian culture. Yes, exactly. Nice. So
that'll be amazing. When did you decide that this is something you wanted to build, the course? Was that more like a because you couldn't keep up, or and to help more people?
I think more so like a mixture of things. So I wanted to help more people, but I had a lot of people saying that they don't have time to do one-on-one classes, or they prefer self-paced learning. So I started my Instagram about a year ago, and that was always something at the back of my mind, was like passive income. How can I, like, what ways can I look at providing my services in a passive income kind of way so that I can still kind of meet you, like kind of get my material or my services out to different people in different form. So the idea had always sort of been there, but then I created this kind of group course in like mastering Australian English, which doesn't have a big accent focus, but it's more about Australian culture with a little bit of accent. And I actually had people saying to me, you should turn this into like a course that people can buy and complete in their own time. So then I started, that's the seed got planted.
Wow. How did you feel when people were making that suggestion? Was that like inspiring for you? Like people are actually asking for like for me to sell something? Because I think that's rare. People can ask you for help, but then people telling you should sell something, or I would buy something from you. So that's another level, which I haven't had yet. You had that? How did that feel?
It was really cool. It kind of, I did get the bit of imposter syndrome at the same time. But it's actually so crazy though. And I really believe a lot in like manifestation and kind of like things always happening for a reason. And I had this idea that I wanted to create an online course. And then randomly, I got like an Instagram ad, and it was a book called Dream Life, and it was how to create online courses. And I was like, all right, $5, why not? I'll give it a go. It took me a couple of months to get into because I was so busy. And then randomly, I got a DM from this one account that was like, hey, Amanda, love what you're doing. It's when my Instagram started to go viral. So maybe like October last year. Hey, Amanda, love what you're doing. Like, really cool to see like Aussie English, blah, blah, blah. It was the author of that book that I randomly bought a few months ago.
No way.
Yeah, I followed her on Good Day Namaste, but not Aussie English. So she had no idea. And then I was like, what the hell? And then I said to her, this is so crazy. I'm literally just reading Dream Life right now. I have plans of creating a course.
Wow.
And she's like, I'm not surprised. Like, you have so much potential. You know, would you like to have one of those like introduction calls? You know, no strings attached, just see how it feels. So called her. I'd kind of told her where I was at. I'm creating this ebook and working on this slang book. And then straight away, she's like, you should do this, you should do that. Don't do that.
Really?
Then she sent me a link to like this workshop where she talks about a course that she's created on how to create an online course. So I signed up to that. So that's the kind of, and we do weekly coaching calls and stuff. Awesome. So yeah, it's kind of, I felt like this is a sign. Like, what are the odds that the author of this book, who had no idea that I had bought it, because I bought it through an ad on my other Instagram, and she just randomly reached out to me. So yeah.
Wow.
The stars aligned.
That's so funny. That's amazing. I was reading a book, and I can't remember the exact quote. I was reading a book the other day, and it said life gives you subtle nudges, but you just have to be aware that you're receiving that nudge from life, you know? And like that's one of them. And for me, even coming back to India was one of them. It's like just a little tap on the shoulder. It was a tap on the shoulder, not a nudge, just to let you know, like, go this way, go this way.
Yeah.
And then a lot of people don't. And so it's nice that you, I guess, saw that and you're like, let me just go all in with her, get the coaching I need. And now it sounds like you're building something beautiful and helpful and authentic as well, which is nice. I feel like there's a lot of people trying to build something to make money. And it's nice to hear that you're actually trying to help first. And then obviously money is a byproduct, it's a thing and essential, but it's nice that you're focusing on kind of how can I help in the best way.
Yeah. And look, I was originally planning on having this done by the start of this year. Like, I was like, okay, October, give me 3 months, but then it just wasn't happening. And I'm really glad now that I have actually decided to wait, because I feel like I'm much more confident in my skills and how I teach and what I'm kind of delivering and my delivery method. I'm much more confident now, because back then, I also signed up to do my diploma in teaching English as a foreign language. So I did that last year. So I was doing all of this kind of upskilling and everything like that. And so I'm really glad I've decided to wait, because like I was saying before, I'm kind of feeling much more confident filming and recording all of my stuff, because I know what I'm talking about. Yeah,
absolutely. That's a beautiful thing as well. And that's something that I'm very aware of and conscious of, I think, is not rushing into trying to sell anything or make money or anything. And for me, I'm lucky that I have some savings from Australia, so I can kind of afford to have that mindset. I think a lot of people probably can't just be like, oh, I'm not going to worry about making money for a little bit.
Yeah.
But for me, that comes back to, I guess, what I was saying before, is just listening for as long as I can and trying to just help as many people as I can for as long as I can. And then, you know, obviously at some stage I'll need to try and monetize and survive.
Yeah.
I think that delaying is always a good idea to just learn and get better and help people and just figure out the best ways to help people. And it sounds like how long have you been, I guess, in the teaching space then? A couple of years?
At least 3.5 years. But my focus on Australian English has been just over nearly 1.5 years, let's say. Yeah.
Which is a lot of time still. And like full dedication on that's a lot of, 1.5 years is a lot of time to build more of the proficiency. And help people. That's amazing.
Yeah. But it's it's funny what you were saying before about sometimes delaying is really good, because when I first had this kind of introduction call with Amber, the lady who wrote that book, I was working on a book on building confidence in Australian English, like an ebook. And I had a couple of students read it and my sister read it too. And they had said, like, it would be good if you had like some resources that you could link in. Like when I talk about slang, and that's when I was like, okay, well, let me create a slang guide of like A to Z Aussie slang. So then I did that, and then I built all of these other free guides and resources and stuff. And then I forgot about that other book. And then randomly, a couple, like maybe last month or the month before, I was going through Canva and I was like, shit, I've got that book there. Let's, have a look at it. And I'm so glad I didn't release it back then, because I'm like, oh, my whole knowledge has just changed. And I'm really glad that I didn't sell it then, because I would not have been like doing it a good service. So I've been able to like update the book, add in all this extra knowledge that I have, and link all of my extra resources in there. And then I've started selling that now. So
do you feel like the work you've been doing has just been guided by what people need?
Yes and no. Yeah, I think the bigger picture, yes. Like definitely on Instagram, I can sort of see what the main kind of pain points are for people, and kind of in that direction with my one-on-one and group classes and stuff like that. But a couple of years ago, when like kind of drop shipping and e-commerce and stuff was like really the buzz. My husband had an e-commerce store. So, the words passive income, all this kind of stuff was always floating around. So when I started my Instagram, I was like thinking passive income, what can I do to like make passive income? So at that time, that's what I was thinking. But I think definitely over this period of time, it's more been guided towards what people want. But back then there was that kind of focus, like, how can I make money from this? So a bit of a mix.
Yeah. Interesting. Yeah, a bit of a mix. But then it even sounds like, I guess, your book, for example, people telling you to put the links in and this would be helpful. And then you got to build those things for people.
Exactly. Yes, that's exactly right. Yeah. So I've got like a bunch of free guides now, but the whole kind of learning process, I was just giving those guides out, and then I'm going to say, like, let's say she's a colleague, but she's from Instagram, because, I don't have colleagues. So let's say a colleague, she said to me, Amanda, you need to be like getting people to sign up to a list. You can't just be giving this stuff out for free. Like,
really,
even though it's $0. She's like, get them on your list. And then, so I, created this random list, didn't know what I was doing. Then she's like, do you have a nurturing sequence? What the hell is a nurturing sequence?
I don't know. What is it?
So what it is like, whenever you subscribe to a website and then you get drip fed emails, like every like once a week or once every like 2 weeks, that's what a nurture sequence is. You're nurturing the customer. And then at the very end is going to be like, kind of like a sales kind of email, like that sort of thing. So every email kind of focuses on a different pain point for the customer, or like what they've signed up for. So I have a guide. Yeah, see, and this is stuff, I can give you this knowledge because I've just discovered this the last 2 months. Yeah. So learn from my mistakes.
You set that up? Or you're set? Yeah. Oh, nice.
So I've set all of that up. ChatGPT has been my best friend. Like, create a nurturing sequence for this product and things like that. And I paid for ChatGPT, the pro version, and you can attach PDFs and stuff like that. So I'm like, this is my free guide. Create an email sequence based on this.
Wow, amazing. That's incredible.
Yeah.
The power of technology. How is technology helping you, I guess, these days? Or how much are you using it? Because that's something that everyone's talking to me about, AI and everything. And it's like, I don't know how to use it or leverage
you're missing out, Andy. You need to really get on the AI train.
You use it a lot? Or more than
every day. Yeah.
For what?
I use ChatGPT, plus I have AI, like I pay for Pro Canva, so I use it to generate photos, like background images, stuff like that. Yeah. For my video editing, I use a program called Descript, which again is like an AI kind of video program, but it's an editing program where it generates the script. And then let's say I've said a sentence I want to cut out. I just highlight that paragraph of wording and click delete, and it deletes the video and the text.
Wow.
So rather than going through and kind of cropping it and kind of like, I have to split it here and delete it. Yeah, it's so easy.
Wow. Are you deep in the technology then?
Oh, yes. Yeah. So ChatGPT I use it to build like pronunciation sentences for my students. So I'm like, I need to create some sentences with this sound, and it generates the sentences. So I'm not wasting time thinking of them myself. Just recently, I don't know if you saw my story, but I used ChatGPT to create a code for my website to do a multiple choice quiz.
I saw that. I was like, wow, that's actually very impressive.
Yeah. So yes, I'm deep in the AI world to see if you need any help.
Wow. That is super interesting. I will, because for me, it's like I feel like I'm missing some efficiencies or, efficiencies pretty much. Like, how can I do something smarter? And because even right now, I'm sending like emails semi-manually, like things like this. I'm like, I should be able to do this in a more efficient way. I'm 99% sure.
Yeah. Yeah, it's all about the prompts as well. So I'll give you another really great example for my online course. So I said before that I've created like a group course on mastering Australian English, and I was suggested that I should turn that into an online course. So I've gone into ChatGPT. I've attached all of my lesson plans. I've said, this is a current 10-week course I'm doing. Help me create a online course based on these modules. Boom, 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 boom. Then I showed my coach Amber, and then she's like, you should change this around and do it like this.
Oh, wow.
All right, cool. So now I've recently used it again where I am doing the Australian culture side, but it's a bit, the lessons I've got on my online course are a bit different to my group course that I teach in person. So I've gone onto ChatGPT. I've said, this is my group course. I'm going to attach some lessons. I need you to tell me which of my lessons from this group live course, which of the lesson plans filter into my group course so I can copy those slides.
Oh, wow.
And it generated, and I'm like, okay, so for this lesson, use lesson plan number 5. For this, use lesson plan number 4 and 6.
Wow. That's insane. This is incredible. Yeah, I gotta dive into this a bit more. I guess
I would
maybe
definitely
when
suggest this.
Yeah. But it sounds like you use it a lot for like the things you've built and try to expand on them. So I guess for me, I'm starting the building process now, like your tools and templates and all your guides that you wrote. I'm starting to build those things.
Yeah.
Yeah.
So definitely dabble in it. It's worth it. It's a time saver.
What do you think's been the highlight of your teaching journey or your favorite part so far?
It's similar to what you said before, is like seeing like how I can help people. So like I think my most favorite part is when like I see a student struggling with a certain sound or pronunciation, and when they finally nail it, I get so excited because I'm like, I've helped to kind of teach them that. Yeah. So I think that's probably the most kind of the thing that I love most about the teaching journey is just really being able to help people, because I get so cliche as well. I get so much enjoyment out of it, but I've always worked in some kind of customer service space. So whether it was hospitality, call centers, the insurance company, it was always customer focused. And the way I see teaching, it is still kind of a customer service. Like I am providing a service to a customer. So you still need that kind of customer service skill. And so that's probably what I enjoy the most.
Very nice. I'm glad you didn't say ChatGPT usage. Learning AI.
I know.
Yeah, that's nice.
No.
That's cool.
Sometimes I use ChatGPT and I'm like, oh my God, like I can't believe I'm doing this. Like there's some things that I'm like, how is this possible? It's a bit scary, but anyway.
I know it is. It is. Very nice. That's cool.
Yeah. All right. Well, let's finish up with the last question. Obviously, I've been following you for a few weeks now, and even just with this conversation, I can see your dedication, not just to your community, but also to your health and fitness. So what advice would you give to someone who wants to stay committed and focused on their goals, even if they're faced with distractions and self-doubt? Like you said, you have to limit your alcohol and partying. That takes a lot of commitment and kind of self-control. So what advice would you give to others?
The number one thing for me, if nothing else, is just discipline. And I know it sounds overly simple, but for me, it can't be motivation, because there's no morning that I really want to get up and go to the gym first thing. There's no morning. But for me, it's not an option. And so for me, it's only about discipline and consistency. That's all of it. If there's distractions and things all over the place, and students are working or people are working and studying and all those sorts of things all over the place, you have to map everything out that's fixed. If you have a job and you have study and family commitments or whatever, map it out. And then you have to know where the spare time is. And then anything that you need to prioritize, health, fitness, whatever else it is, you have to put the time in. And it's like, for example, I was talking to someone the other day saying, sometimes I miss a uni lecture because I'm at work, which is fine.
Mm.
And then I don't catch up. I'm like, you have to know the exact hour of maybe the next day, 3 to 4 p.m. on Thursday, I'm catching up on the lesson from the previous day. You have to, it's not just tomorrow I'll do it. So for me, it's all about being very structured and extremely disciplined on that structure, and not leaving it up to self-motivation, because that won't be enough. It's fleeting, in my opinion, motivation, being motivated to do something. Whereas if you've got discipline and you have rules and you have structure in place, and even I know people saying, well, what about, like just being able to, having free time and being able to just do whatever you want sometimes. I factor that into my scheduling. So I'll factor in, for example, Friday night, Saturday night, Sunday afternoon is my time where I can kind of do whatever I want. And so you can even factor that freedom or that spontaneity into structure. But I think for me, if you really want to achieve something and build something, it has to be structured and disciplined.
Yeah. Yeah. Great advice. Very, very important. I think there's a phrase like consistency over motivation.
100%.
So being consistent, same as discipline. Yeah. Yeah. Because there's those days that you really don't want to do it. And it's just that discipline that gets you going, not the motivation.
100%. And then over time, it just compounds. That's the thing. Like if you leave it to motivation, then it fleets and it goes away for a couple of months, then you come back. That was actually my gym journey for honestly until the last 6 months, 12 months. I go to the gym and then I don't go, and then I'd go. And then so over years, there was no development. There was no difference. And I used to weigh myself almost every day. And I have like 4 or 5 years of data just doing this. And then as soon as I put in an actual structured plan, and I was like, I'm doing this every single day now. Even rest days I go just to do some stretches or something, but I still go to the gym and just don't lift weights, And so for me, just having that structure in place is absolutely critical. And then my results have skyrocketed since then. Because for me, that's the most important thing, is the consistency, showing up every day and just being determined to being disciplined to just stick by the plan. Yeah.
Yeah. See, I can be pretty consistent and disciplined, but I'm also like not showing up on those days too sometimes. I haven't gone to the gym all week, but my dog got into an accident. So I haven't been able to leave her home alone. I've been a bit nervous about leaving her by herself.
Life happens sometimes. Yeah, absolutely.
Yes. So today is Monday, a new day. So
that's it. New week.
Yes.
I'll say you better be in the gym then.
Well, look, after this, I got therapy, and then I've got the afternoon free, but I'm still working on my course. As long as if I finish like my work, I shouldn't say finish because I won't finish it, but if I stop working at 5:30, then I think I should be rested enough to go.
There you go. I'll hold you to account.
Okay, sounds good. Cool. All right. Well, was there anything else that you wanted to say or ask before we finish up?
No, congratulations on 100K followers on Instagram.
And you're on 10, you're up to 12 now. That's exciting. You're growing at a rapid pace.
Yes, trying to, which is nice. But no, that's it. Had a great conversation. Looking forward to, I'm sure there'll be many more encounters in the future. So thanks for having me.
Yes. Cool. And I'll just put your details as well in like the episode description. So if people want to contact you, what's the best way? Is it just through Insta, or I can put the community link in there if you want.
Cool. Yeah, that's perfect. Either way, Instagram's perfect anyway.
Cool. All right. Well, thanks for joining me.
Thank you. Thanks for having me.